Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Clock on the wall says noon, so we'll get started. Mr. Coley, I think we will ask for roll call.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Cannell. Here. Commissioner Risen. Commissioner Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I understand Commissioner Risen, there was a death of one of his friends, and he had to be out of town for a funeral, so that's what we're doing. The minutes were electronically sent to you. We need a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Okay, we'll move to official action. The first is consideration of nominees for commissioner term beginning January 1, 2013.
This year's nominating process for the term beginning January 1st, 2013 began in January of this year, when the online applications became available on KUB's website. The committee met in August. The advertisements ran in the New Sentinel that month. Candidates also received a hard copy applications in the mail upon request. Immediately after the application deadline in September, the applications were distributed to all the board members for review. Later that month, the committee discussed all submitted applications and interviewed applicants. The charter requires that the board provides the mayor with at least 5 nominees for each commissioner vacancy. The nominating committee recommends the following 6 nominees: Lizette Avalez, Amy Kathy Hamilton, Celeste Herbert, Booth Kamen, and Donald Parnell.
Okay, so I understand Mr. Walker will distribute ballots, and we are to vote for, is there a minimum number we vote for, or?
Requested you vote for at least 6 candidates.
Vote for at least 6.
And as a reminder, commissioners, obviously you do vote by written ballot. Please remember to sign your ballots when you are completed. The candidates you vote for may be from those that were recommended by the nominating committee, or you can vote for any other applicant, or you can write in a candidate if you wish. And the names of those 6 individuals receiving a majority of the votes will be submitted to the mayor for consideration.
As a reminder to the board, several years ago, Commissioner Tom Jones and I were criticized by the then mayor for not signing our names legibly enough that somebody could tell who signed the ballot. So be sure you sign.
It's too late for that.
Every year.
You can remind us before we hand out.
Mr. Chair, the following individuals have received a majority of the votes: Lizette Avalez, Amy Kathy Hamilton, Celeste Herbert, Booth Kamen, and Donald Parnell.
Okay, so these 6 names will be submitted to the mayor, and who hopefully will select one to nominate to the city council. I'd like to thank the nominating committee for your work conducting the process. Resolution 1280 is amending the rules and regulations for the wastewater division of KUB, providing for modifications to the pre-treatment and re-control program for the KUB wastewater system.
Commissioners, I want to recognize Debbie Ailey, who's our Manager of Regulatory Compliance, to give you the summary of the amendments to the wastewater rules and regulations. This is being driven by an amendment that TDEC has offered that will be advantageous to one of our customers. And it also enables us to clarify some of our grease control program issues. So I recognize Debbie.
Commissioners, as you know, our wastewater rules and regulations are in place to ensure a safe and effective operation of our wastewater system. They contain policies that help us maintain compliance with state and federal regulations, and also policies that help us protect our plants and our collection system. As I've shared with you in the past, it's important that we prevent certain types of discharges in order to make sure we don't have any negative impacts on our operations. So today I want to talk to you about some proposed changes that actually help us maintain that protection, but also have some benefits for our customers. As Ms. Roach said, they pertain to industries, specific types of industries that actually have a low discharge to our system, a low flow, and also clarifications to our grease control program. The Environmental Protection Agency actually requires wastewater utilities to permit any significant industrial users to their system. A significant industrial user may be an industry that discharges more than 25,000 gallons to our system every day, or an industry that has a discharge with the potential to harm our plants, as I just discussed. And it also includes industries that actually fall into certain types or categories. They're called categorical industries. An example of that might be a chemical manufacturer that produces a variety of industrial chemicals or solvents. And those wastes are often difficult for a wastewater plant to treat. They can pass through our plant onto the receiving stream and create a potential environmental impact. Another good example of a categorical industry would be a metal finishing or plating industry. They can discharge metals to us like chromium and zinc, things that again our plant can't remove, or they might be toxic to the microorganisms that we use in our wastewater processes. Categorical industries can actually apply for an exception or an exemption if they discharge less than 100 gallons per day into our collection system. That's a very low flow. In addition to that, in order to meet the exception, they have to sign a signature statement that says they'll maintain that flow, that they are committed to compliance, and that they'll let us know if anything changes about their process or their discharge at any time. It's a pretty rare exception, but it usually applies to small industries. Industries that may be trying to reuse or recycle some flow so that they meet that low flow requirement. And they're minimal risk to us because of that flow. We actually have one industry in our system right now. They make rail bearings and they meet this criteria. They have a small plating process on site, and that discharge water actually doesn't even come to us. So we'd like to incorporate this exception into our rules because it would benefit them and it would also potentially help other customers in the future. The other proposed changes apply to the requirements of our grease control program. We're trying to clarify some of the requirements on grease control. And it's really important that customers continue to understand what our program requires them to do. This graph actually shows grease-related SSOs over the last 10 years. In 2003, when our program was implemented, we started requiring new food service facilities to install equipment that met the sizing requirements of our current program. Through that effort, and also the effort of system maintenance and improvements, we continued to see a downward trend in grease-related SSOs until 2009. In both 2009 and 11, where you see a spike, we know that wet weather impacted those totals. We had some pretty significant rainfall events that caused those numbers to spike up. But overall, in the last 3 to 4 years, we've not been able to gain anything in eliminating grease-related SSOs. And in fact, last year, we had 21 grease-related SSOs in 2011. And although this year looks much better so far, we need to stay focused on eliminating that in our collection system. To help with that, we've revised our program, not to include more requirements, but to include more information and make sure that the requirements that we have are pretty definitive.